Somebody left me a great comment asking why they always second guess their decisions. They're in a place right now where everything they do, they think they should do again. Every mix decision, every recording, the word I, they think they could say it differently. I think we've all been there. So let me give you my interpretation of this. The first reason, the number one reason you will be in a position where you're not getting things done and you're second guessing every decision you make is because you don't trust yourself. You don't trust your decisions. You don't think that if left to just you, that you will be someone who's going to be successful. This is the problem. The root of it means you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe your decisions are correct. Let me start by saying the field we're in, creative field of any kind, mixing, mastering, or anything else that's creative, literally anything, there is no right or wrong. So because there's no right or wrong, you're in a position where no matter what you do, there's a number of factors that are going to contribute to whether or not your work gets well received. Number one, timing. Number two, the song or whatever it is you're working on. Number three, your decision in the mix process, and 100,000 other things that are going to come together to determine whether whatever you're working on is going to be good or not. Let me save you the trouble. It's not going to come down to one little pecky-you thing you're focused on. It's not going to come down to you and how you said the word I. It's not going to. It's never one thing. When it comes to a mix or producing, making a song, and no matter what it is, the goal must be for you to build your confidence in yourself. Let me tell you this. The most successful producers out there and the most successful mixers out there, the thing they all have in common is they trust their own decisions. Now, you could say, well, it's easy for them to trust their decisions. They have accolades. They've got, records they've made with 1 million streams. So, of course, they trust their decisions. That's actually not true. In order for them to get into the position that they're in now, where they are successful, they didn't start there. They started, just like you, probably working alone in a room with just themselves and their own decisions. They built up the confidence in the fact that their decision is the right one. Because if they didn't, no matter who they were around and any opportunity they could have gotten, nobody would select them for the job. Because in order for anyone to believe in you and have confidence that you possibly could be the one that they want to hire to do whatever, work on whatever, in order for that to happen, you have to believe in yourself first. Nobody believes in anybody who doesn't believe in themselves. So the one big thing that I know all these people have in common is that they believed in themselves. They believed in their decision-making, which ultimately allowed them to make gains in terms of their own confidence every single time they worked on anything. That eventually meant that one day when they were in a room with somebody and it was on the line because this is a real chance for them, it meant they could trust themselves. They got the thing done in a reasonable time frame, and it worked out, which allowed them to get to the next step. See, if you don't do enough stuff, you don't have the same chances as somebody who does do enough stuff. And the only way you can finish the thing you're working on to get to the next thing is if you have confidence in your decision making. Otherwise, you spend weeks, months, sometimes longer, keep revisiting the same thing you're working on, because if it's not done, it's not done. And the truth is, the only one who's saying it's not done is you. The only one who even knows this thing exists is probably you, or your band or whatever. But if you're not the one who's in charge of getting it done, you're actually never putting yourself on the line. You're never saying, this is my decision. It sounds great. I'm now done. So what you're basically doing is prolonging the inevitable, which is the judgment. You're prolonging it. And even worse than prolonging it is actually being like, okay, I'm done. This is done. I'm going to make that decision. But you do it sort of with one foot in, one foot out. You're not committed to being done. You don't say to yourself, no matter what anyone says, I'm not going to change this. It is done. That's what you need to say. You need to literally not let anybody get into your armor. It needs to be a shield that when you decide you're done, made all the final decisions to make this done, you need to make sure you don't ever go back, because that right there will also carry forward. You need to build the habits when you're all alone in your room that you would need, the habits you would need if you're in the room with people where it really matters. You need to show them you believe in yourself. You need to show them that your decision making you stand behind. You need to show them this. And in order to do that, start now. Start believing in yourself now. And the way you do that could be scared at first, but you commit and then you don't let yourself change it no matter who says what. Because that's the other thing that all those successful people have in common with you. The same thing. You know what they have in common with you? There's always going to be people telling them, this is wrong with it, this isn't good, this guy sucks, there are always going to be opinions thrown at you everywhere. You think these people who are successful never had anybody telling them their stuff was bad or should be changed? Because if you get 10 creative people in a room, no one's going to agree. And if you get 1,000, it's even worse. And if you get 10,000, you get the point. So the more people looking at you, the more of an opportunity you actually have to run into these negative people. Because there's not that many of them out there, but they're out there. And basically what they're doing, anytime you get a negative person who says anything about your stuff, what they're really doing is farting in the room, and they just want you to smell their farts. Because anybody who's not negative, anybody who doesn't have nothing going on in their own stuff, would never, ever comment negatively on your stuff, ever. Anybody who's doing better than you is never going to try to bring you down, ever. And anybody whose opinion's worth anything, if they were going to give you their real opinion, they're probably going to charge you for it. So what I'm saying is, if you're getting free advice from people and it's negative, it's worthless. So don't look at it like it means anything. Certainly don't change what you've done based on what they say. Opinions are mood-based. Opinions are mood. It means if the person's in a bad mood, it'll be a different opinion than if they're in a good mood. So all you can say to yourself is, and I want to also throw the flip side. If you give a positive opinion to somebody, that's always going to bring them up, because anybody who's actually doing well, more often than not, they'll probably comment positively on your stuff because they know how hard it is to keep working in a field where there's no right or wrong. So they want to bring you up because they know what it feels like to have a day maybe where they didn't wake up on the right side of the bed and they're feeling a little depressed or something. And they know if anybody comments positively or helps them in any way, they feel lifted. They feel great. So they're going to do that for you. Anybody who's successful or on the way to being successful, that's what they're going to do. So as soon as you get somebody who's coming at you with, this is bad, this should change, this is what, yada, yada, all you got to realize is that's probably somebody who's not doing very well. And no matter what, their whole day is probably kind of sad. It's a depressed day. They're sad. Even if they fake it for a little while, they're depressed people. They're sad. And that's why they want to kick that to you. They want to fart and make you smell it. So don't ever change your decisions based on what anybody says. All right? No matter what. You have to learn to trust your decisions. Stick with your decisions no matter what anybody else says. And then if enough people see your stuff ever, maybe you'll know if it's good or bad. But if a few people see it and you get a few comments good and a few ones bad, you let those good ones lift you up. That's great. But if you let those bad ones bring you down or halt you or stop you or slow you down in any way, you're doing a huge disservice to your progress. You're doing a huge disservice to where you could have been if you stayed in a mental place where you know your decisions are right because you trust them, because there is no right or wrong. So you're trusting your decisions. You're moving forward. Now what will you accomplish with your 24 hours? What will you do now? Because that compounds on itself day after day. So now with all that and all this positive everything that you're bringing to the table, now when you get around anybody who might be able to do something for you, might be able to put you in a good position, they're going to feed off what you're giving them and they're going to want you around. That's how it works. So many times people need to believe in themselves because you can't fake it. If you get somebody who thinks they're hot shit walking around, it it exudes. You can see it. As soon as you get somebody who's maybe super, attractive, and then inside they just think they're nothing, they think they're worthless, it doesn't look the same. They don't exude that they are worth, they don't exude that specialness. And as a result, they don't look the same. So everybody has to realize this at some point, that success has way more to do with you than anybody who will tell you that it's about luck wants you to ever believe. In order to say the words, it's really about luck. In order to say that, you really have to believe that you are not good enough. That's the back story to anybody who says it's all about luck. The truth of the matter is, it's more about what you bring to every situation, how much confidence and faith you have in yourself, how much confidence and faith do you have in your decisions, which starts alone in a room by yourself working on your own stuff. That's where it starts. And if you can take that and harness it into a habit of constantly believing in yourself, you'll get done with songs quicker. You won't think everything you do needs to be redone. You will get done with this song so you can work on the next one. And then eventually you'll be somebody who's done so much stuff that you actually got better. It's very easy to look at where you're at now and look at where someone else is and think there's a huge gap there. I'm very far from where I want to be. Anybody would be depressed if they looked at that. What you need to do is compare where you started to where you are now. Compare your first thing you ever recorded. The first thing. Just remember it. I'm not saying you need to A and B it. I'm saying you literally just remember it. How you started, what you first used to record, what was the first, what knowledge did you have then? And now what knowledge do you have? What are you bringing to the table now? And I guarantee you've made decisions along the way that you can be proud of. I guarantee you're way further now down the line, down this journey of getting somewhere, wherever you want to go. You're way more knowledgeable than you used to be. You're way better. You are way better at what you're doing than what you started with. And as a result, how could you not be happy about that? How could anybody think about that and not be happy? You've got no reason to be depressed. You're alive, which means you can keep getting better and you have a chance of getting somewhere closer to where you want to be. As soon as you say to yourself, it's all about luck, I really got no shot. As soon as you're in this depressive mindset where, man, I don't know if this is right or wrong. I'm never going to be done with this song. I don't know how many times I should keep tweaking this. Is it ever going to be done? As soon as you're there, you might as well just pack it in. Just pack it in. They should start burying you now if that's where you're at. Because as long as you're alive, there's no reason to be in that place. Just remember where you started. That's all you have to do. I started using a Yamaha MD4 4-track. Before that, I was literally plugging in a microphone to a cassette player, recording radio interview kind of things, like pretending I was a radio broadcast person when I was a little kid in elementary school. So what I'm saying is, I started there. And to think that now the acquired knowledge that I have and what I can do when it comes to give me a couple mics, give me a bad interface, give me whatever, give me a few plugins, I'll show you what I can do. When it comes to that, how could I be depressed? That's the point. That's all you have to do. Think of where you are now and where you started. All right? And that's it. And then you say to yourself, I got this. Because you do. You got this. And nobody who's super successful now got there by not trusting themselves. So you start by practicing. Trust yourself. Let that, any negative stuff that you get, any feedback, because social media today especially is all about the feedback. It pushes the algorithm. You want the feedback. And when you inevitably get anything negative, don't change a thing. You say to yourself, I know I made the right decision. And with that, Watch how far you progress. If you do this for 1 year, it doesn't take 10 years. 1 year of this, you'll be a completely different person. You will. Start today, all right? And while you're starting, I want you to do something else. I want you to make it a point to write down how many songs you're going to get done in the next so many days. Because that's the other thing, when we're just talk about mixing for a second. If you allow yourself 3 weeks, you'll take 3 weeks. If you allow yourself 2 days, you'll take 2 days. And what I'm saying is make it a point where you say to yourself, I'm going to work on it today, 4, 5, 6 hours, whatever. If the stuff's arranged right, like in other words, if you don't have to mess with the performances and the arrangement and the tuning, if you don't have to go crazy with it, there's no reason you should take more than, let's say, 4, 5, 6, 8 hours to mix a song. But you do most of it one day. The next day you could just listen, make tweaks, and be done. And if you do that, that's a schedule that you're going to start to learn and impart. You're forcing yourself to trust your decisions because the time is up. Chris Lord-Alge said that many times. He said, it's amazing how when, we're under the gun and people are coming, client's going to be here to listen to a song, we got to get done. And it's amazing how those mixes always turn out better. Pressure makes you better because it forces you to focus and get your decisions made in a timely fashion. And a lot of people who work on their own music only, they got no pressure, which is the enemy of amazingness. So take that with you also, all right? I really hope you dug it. If you did, throw something in the comments. I appreciate it. Hit the like button, subscribe. It means a lot, and it helps me keep doing this. So you guys got this. Evan Jaffe, Custom Cut Studios. Remember that. You got this. Take it easy.